Good morning everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the Rotary Rumble Modpack. As you can see, I'm at the world generation screen. I'm about to go through the various configuration options that I'm going to be using for the playthrough. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually go through, I'm going to increase the ore frequency and deposit size a little bit, just to make things a little bit more fun. And this is going to be, nope, that's not the world seed I was planning to use. This is the world seed I was planning to use. And that's why you have things prepared, people. Just go done. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the create new world process, and I shall see you on the other side. Okay, so the world has had a few moments to generate. We can have a quick look around. There seems to be an island, seems to be sheep and pigs, both of which are going to be good for early game food. So this is a Pam's Harvestcraft garden. They're very good for getting a whole bunch of seeds very quickly. For the most part, those that are around where I end up selling, I'm actually going to leave them in place because they will actually spread with time. And if I harvest them one at a time, it means more seeds for me, which is always good. So of course this is the first stage of virtually any Minecraft Let's Play, which is find a tree, punch a tree, get wood. Now I do try and actually get about 2 stacks of wood to start off with. Now one thing you will notice is that I'm going for vanilla tools, I'm not going for Tinker's Construct tools. That's mostly because Tinker's Construct is not in the pack. One of the reasons I constructed the pack the way I did is specifically to avoid Tinker's Construct, as that seems to be a standard option, and to a degree makes the game a little bit easier. This first episode is basically going to be, let's just make sure my timer is started, the start of getting wood, getting a few plants, and finding a place to live. Now we look like we're in an extreme hills biome, which is going to be good for me because I actually like to start off fairly high. The reason for that is I tend to build a 3x3 chunk area, and of course the higher you start, the more room you've got. So still cutting down wood. With the survival mod that we have installed, there is basically enforced progression, somewhat like Tinker's. Obviously wooden tools are the start, then stone, then copper, then bronze, then iron. HSLA still is in there as well, as is the Ender IO tools, and diamond tools are at the very top for grabbing obsidian. One thing you will notice is all of these bright plants, both the shrub violets and the flame lilies, they are part of the Allflower mods. What they basically do is they indicate the presence of certain ores within a 40 block radius. That's going to be a lot of trees if we want to chop them down. or we can start our own tree farm. But it's good to know that we have that sort of thing close by. Early game, it's also going to be good to have a source of water, mostly because we're going to have to start our farm where the water is. Obviously, once we get into metals, we can build a bucket. There's also the wooden bucket mod, but that requires the use of cactus, and I don't see a desert anywhere nearby. I am going to grab a couple of these gardens simply to get some starting. Oh, potatoes. Some starting crops to plant. That's a cavern that I don't want to go exploring just yet. We do of course have forestry installed, so we can look at bees. And this looks like a interesting spot where we might actually want to set up a permanent base. So I'm pretty sure I should actually have something to say around this time, because otherwise it's just watching you guys watching me go around Goodwood. I think this mod pack is going to be interesting in the main regards that Rotary craft being the main component of this pack, as it were. It's not a very common mod. It was in the FTP monster pack, but a lot of people, I imagine, would have gone for the standard mods that they play with each time. So you're talking about things like thermal expansion, buildcraft. One of the things you will notice at the top left is in-game info, which is displaying the date and the time, or at least the fact that it's day 0 effectively. I would like to try and make it to day 10 without dying, because I have a very bad habit, or a couple of very bad habits I should say, where I do silly things and get myself killed. That's life. But it's something I'm going to try and avoid. So I've got a stack and a bit of wood at the moment. That looks like a possibly a promising place to start digging in. And we have a lake over here which we can eventually dig out to, and we can set up as our farming area. We won't do that within the first couple of days, simply to start getting food in. We do have an apple and we do have oak saplings, so that means that we can make a oak tree if we want. And there's a second apple. This textile plant which we'll get. Now it is getting fairly late in the day. It's going to be about 4 PM. Darkness is roughly around 6 or 7, which means we only have a couple of hours of daylight left. And of course that means that various mobs will start spawning. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be caught out by zombies or creepers or skeletons. Again, just basically going for as much wood as I can get in this initial day. And what I might also do in a few minutes is actually turn the mob radar off. Just going to give this harvest craft garden a few spots to grow. We already have seeds, we already have potatoes, so that means the last thing we're looking for of the basic crops is carrots, and they'll be for our seeds, for our pigs over here. Oh shit. This means we really want to get in fast. And we're going to block up the outside of the cave. I like to leave several layers of stone in between me and the outside world, simply because of creepers. We don't actually have creeper collateral running at the moment, which means that if a creeper goes off, they are going to make a hole in the world. That's going to be really interesting when we actually start chasing them. So we left our crafting table outside, so we're just going to make a new one. I really do wish we could make the Tinker Construct ones at the moment. Standard furnace. What we're going to do is we're going to get a stack of wood burning, and that's so that we can use torches. And now that we have stone, we can use stone tools. Now we do have carpenter blocks installed, which means we can actually produce carpenter torches. The downside to this is carpenter torches, if you leave out in the middle of rain, they will actually go out. The upside to using them is, well, apart from the fact you get more of a little bit of wood investment, is that the special AI configuration is set to ignore them. So of course everything has that nice red glow. And we have a creeper right outside our door. Let's see if we can get some gunpowder. Now this probably is a stupid thing to do, but we will actually be needing the gunpowder quite a bit as soon as we get into Rotary craft. Okay, so those zombies are healing up, and I'm not going to screw around with them at the moment. Let's make this the food chest. God, my neighbours make a racket, don't they? Which reminds me, I now have charcoal. So, as much as people probably hate them, I am going to make this room a 9x9, simply because it is very efficient for torchlight. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And what I'll be doing is I will be placing things like chests and such into the wall itself. We have to be a little bit careful in digging out this dirt because we don't want to expose ourselves to the outside world. And you can hear... Nope, not daytime just yet. I could have looked at the map. I could have looked at the clock. The other benefit to having that opening is that come morning when zombies start burning, it's actually fairly easy to kill them and as a result build up a bit of XP. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Not that we're going to be using that XP this early in the game, but hey, at least we'll have it. So what I might do is I might just put a cut in here and I will come back when something more exciting starts happening. And welcome back to the morning of the blood moon. And as you can see, we have quite a few guests outside. So I'm going to prepare a welcoming gift. So hopefully a lot of those guys are actually going to kill themselves in the sunlight because they're zombies. And for those who don't, let's see if we can tempt them. And like any Minecraft player, I'm having inventory problems. So let's just get rid of these books for now. So we're actually going to remove that before we step on ourselves. And we're going to see if we can collect a bit of zombie flesh, because that will become useful. The other thing I think I might do for now is to block off this lava source. So this area outside our base is something we're going to have to clean up eventually. I know he wasn't being particularly offensive, but okay, so one thing we're going to do is we're going to collect ourselves some bacon. Now you will notice that attacking one of these pigs basically turned the entire lot hostile, and that's part of the special AI mod. And the reason why we're going through and doing this is because, especially with early game, meat from pigs or cows is going to be very good for us in terms of the amount of health, the amount of hunger it regens, and pigs aren't really all that useful. I mean, sure, they give us bacon, but that's about it. Whereas the other neutral mobs, well, the sheep give us wool and the cows will give us leather. The other thing we're going to start doing is we're going to start building ourselves a farming area around here. So we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. So we're just going to fill in these holes in the middle of the lake. We don't need them to be particularly deep at the moment. Here's some dirt. We have dirt and we can do that. So these plants that are coming off actually indicate the presence of redstone in the area, and I'm going to just replant them outside just as the indicator. And then I'm going to continue this building. 3, 4, 5. And one thing that we're eventually going to do is we're going to make a underground path between this area and our base. Now the main reason why I'm building the farm here instead of in my actual base is because I don't have any buckets as yet. The wooden bucket mod actually requires you to have cactus, and I can't see any deserts around here. So we're going to have to build the farm where the water is. Now in terms of light, what we're going to do is we're going to put a carpenter's torch up, and because they can go out when it rains, we're going to do that, and that's going to effectively shield the torch. We can just probably put a block of cobblestone above the torch, but that looks a little bit neater, and as concessions go to being realistic, it's a fairly minor one. So that's what we could do. And just put that first block up there. And of course we're going to hit F7 to ensure that we don't have any spawnable areas within the farm. And do the same on this side. And of course I don't have a hoe. Actually, I'm going to concentrate on the farm for this episode. I'm not going to bother trying to get anything else. So one thing I am going to do is I'm going to extend out the front of the base. Again, this is simply as a anti-creeper measure. Not something I've had to do previously because I've had creeper collateral on, which means that they don't actually damage the landscape when they go boom. We're at least going to try and do some initial sorting, as badly as that's likely to go, and we wanted to do a hoe, didn't we? Well, need more cobblestone, just mine it. So it is getting fairly late. It's actually 6 PM in game time, so we're just going to plant some trees outside in the hope that they'll grow. Spruce trees, when in a 2x2 pattern, if they grow properly, they'll actually grow into a large tree, which basically just means more wood. It's up to you how you do it. And still just waiting for the mobs to spawn, but I think it's time to put in the doorstop. Now this is the time that you would normally actually start mining, but we still basically don't have enough resources. We don't have enough food, so we're going to wait this night out. So in terms of our food, we do have a few different options. We've got garlic and we've got eggplant, which means we can make stuffed eggplant, which is a fairly good meal from Pan's Harvestcraft. We just need some bakeware, which means we need some bricks. Eventually, we might want to go for beef Wellington. And you can see, it really does do a lot of hunger. And we'll need dough, we'll need either raw beef or tofu, we'll need mushrooms of some sort, and we'll need spinach. So, not quite that stage yet. So this night is going to be spent finishing off this initial 9x9. And let's just raise the roof a little bit. Okay, that's going to be a slight problem. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put in another cut here. I'll probably come back in the morning and we can get started on the initial part of our agricraft crops. See you then. So welcome back everyone. You can tell it's morning again because we have zombies outside who are burning to death. Let's see if we can just get one or two. Have a quick look around, make sure there's no creepers. One of the reasons why I'm semi-focusing on creepers is because gunpowder is quite valuable in the starting stages of Rotary craft because you actually need it for HSLA steel. So if we can get a little bit now, unfortunately not for that one, but we did get a good tree. And we do have a creeper on top of a spider. Let's see if we can tempt this guy out to play without playing around for the skeleton. Okay, food. Now the only food we have with us is rotten flesh. Tasty. Well, the first thing I'm going to do, so I spot it, is grab the salt. I believe is around here somewhere. Yep, there's some salt there. There are of course ways for us to actually make salt later on. All we need is a bucket of water. But for now, having to collect salt that way is what we're going to have to do. Now, back onto the farms. As soon as I can get back to my base and get our initial foodstuffs. So as you can see, both trees have grown together. And if we need some wood, that's going to be a very nice option for us. So a couple of changes I did make is I did put a new chest in. I've started on this room, but for the most part I haven't made all that much progress. And let's drop off this stuff. Now I'm only going to be planting or using one of each. Squash I don't care about the moment. Cantaloupe might be a good idea. Do I have soy? I have peas. Oh well, something for later. So I said making a underground tunnel between these two sections is going to be something I'll be doing fairly soon, just so I can access my farm at night time. So of course, as standard, we will hoe the ground. We really don't care about uses on our hoe. Going to get some sticks, and we're going to convert them into agri-craft crops, or crop sticks. Now I do have, so the first thing is I'm going to convert the potato to potato seeds, plant them down, same for the seeds. Peas I don't care about, cantaloupe, okra, eggplant, garlic, and cotton. Now I do have weeds turned off in this pack, so I'm going to go ahead and straight off put in a second row of crop sticks, so that when the initial, actually I'll do 2 rows of new crop sticks. And what this will mean is that when the first row of plants has grown up, they will hopefully spread to the next row in line. What the hell, we're going to be getting a little bit more wood from that tree, so might as well go mad. Now, we don't really have any way of speeding up the growth of things at the moment. We can't use agri-craft sprinklers because that requires iron. Same for Rotary craft. We could look at doing straight bone meal, but that's, we will probably just want to expand the garden naturally. And we're just going to get rid of this little rise just to ensure that our sightlines are good. And it looks like there's a couple of spots of clay out there, which will be very good for when we find ores. So if you look at the top at Whaler, you can see that the mining level is high, and I only have a entry level stone pickaxe. So to actually mine gold, I'm going to need a better tool. I'm going to grab this coal while I'm here. Again, it's something that's going to be required for Rotary craft. Though there are various tricks to economise on coal use. Now we're going to start chopping this tree down. Actually going to want a few axes. I do apologise for the sound of the shower that just went off. And all we're going to do is use this silver process to go all the way to the top, and then we're going to work our way down. And that will probably be it for the day, so I shall bring you guys back in when there's something more interesting to do. See you next episode.